Welcome to Classical 95.9 WCRI's Conducting Conversations with your host, Mike Mano. 1 hour of music and conversation with notable people in the arts, bringing you the stories of how music has impacted their lives. The show will give a behind-the-scenes look at the guest's background, interests, or special project.
Conducting Conversations is brought to you by Roberts Musical Instruments. From sheet music and brand name instruments to rentals, repairs, lessons, and more. Roberts Musical Instruments is your key to musical success. Call 823-5459. That's 823-5459.
And now here's your host, Mike Mano.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conducting Conversations. Tonight it's a pleasure to welcome into our studios the founder and artistic director of the Mystic Chamber Music Series. Is that correct? We're calling it a series?
Yes, it is. Yes, thank you so much for having me
here. Nice to have you with us, Tom. And tell us how this all came about. How did you end up in Mystic?
Yeah, so I grew up in Mystic, and so I started playing some concerts at the Mystic No Ink Library, and they kind of took off. And so about a year ago this month, I started the Mystic Chamber Music Series with our first concert at the Mystic No Ink Library. And from that point, we've now had about, I think, 6 or 7 concerts. Mm-hmm. And we have another 3 slated for the rest of this year, and it's become a full-fledged series.
There you go. Now, a lot of people that are listening to the program have probably already noticed you have a severe Mystic accent.
Yes, it's a little bit Mystic, a little bit out across the pond.
Oh, okay.
I was born in England, and I came over here when I was about 4 years old, so I still have some twinge of an accent.
Wait, you've been here since you're 4, and
yes.
You still have that much of an accent.
A medical marvel, they call me.
All right. Well, tell us what brought you from England to here.
Yeah, so my dad worked in the medical field, and he then started working in research and came over and started working at Pfizer, and so we came to Mystic, and that's kind of how we ended up here.
And there you are. So, and Mystic ever since?
Mystic ever since, yep.
How about schooling?
So I went all the way through the Groton Public School System. I graduated from Fitch High School in 2018. And then I went off to Manhattan School of Music, where I did an undergraduate and master's in cello performance. Now I am a Millman Fellow at the Columbia University, the Teachers College there, studying cello pedagogy as well as movement analysis, and doing my graduate work there, which is really cool.
Movement analysis.
Yes. So,
I think that needs a little more description. Everybody knows what cello is.
And so what I'm kind of using in that sense is taking some classes that are about movement science and how our bodies move. So that kind of helps to teach a movement ability, such as playing cello.
Okay.
Cello is kind of like a sport, but a little bit smaller and a little bit more micro of movements.
You might call it a sport. I haven't thought of that before. All right. And cello has been the instrument of choice your whole life?
My whole life. I started playing in 3rd grade. And
because the girls love cello.
Exactly. I thought that was the way to get girls in 3rd grade. And so I started playing in 3rd grade, and then I played at Thames Valley Music School and kind of just fell in love ever since then. I really feel like music is such like a universal language, and it's really fun to be able to sit and just play with people and to kind of create these conversations, create these kind of moments together, even if you don't really know each other, just by playing together and knowing the music together and kind of working.
Sure. A lot of musicians play with pretty much a regular group of people as they do over the years? Then they bring in somebody else. Do you have a regular group that you perform with?
I have a couple regulars. So Sila Şentürk, who is a pianist from Turkey, and Nini Giogadze, who's a violinist from Georgia. Both those two are the regulars.
United States, Georgia, or
the country of Georgia.
The country, Georgia.
Yep.
Okay.
Those are 2 regulars on our series, but in general, the series kind of allows me to kind of call whoever I want to play with, which is really fun. So there's no real set group.
Okay.
We have people who return a bunch, but there's no set group, and it kind of is who is in town, who wants to play, and also who I want to play with, and who I think will tell the best story in that concert.
Sure, and it keeps it fresh and new and exciting for your audience.
Yeah. New exciting, new personalities, new musical choices kind of all coming together.
All right, let's get specific about this concert coming up on February 8th, right?
Yep,
just a few
February
weeks.
8th at 5:30 at the Lagrua Center in Stonington.
Okay, and tickets are available?
Tickets are available on our website at mysticchambermusicseries.com. They are also available if you follow us on Instagram or on Facebook. They're linked in our bios, as well as you could give us a call at 860-949-6594.
Wow, the old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way. You'll
Okay.
you'll come right to me, right to my Mystic Chamber Music Series phone, and I'll answer that phone, and I'll get you some tickets.
There you go. Operator standing by.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get to some music. You brought some music with you tonight that gives us some ideas about what's going on. Tell us about this first piece.
Yeah, so this first piece is actually from our last concert. And our last concert was kind of centered around TV and movie music based on the hit Netflix TV show Bridgerton. And so the piece that I brought is the Haydn Sunrise Quartet, the first movement. And we played on our last concert. And what's kind of fun about this quartet is that there's an opening chord played by the second violin, viola, and cello. And that is considered to be the sunrise or the horizon. And then moving above the horizon is the first violin, and that is the sun rising above the horizon.
Okay. Well, we'll put on our imagination caps and listen
There you
to
go.
this. It's a little bit lengthy, so we'll put this whole thing in this segment of our program, and then we'll take a short break and be back with more. the Mystic Chamber Music Festival, or series, is I don't know, do you like festival or series?
That is a question that kind of goes around in our board a lot. I think we go back and forth a lot. A series, kind of the idea of having it spread out throughout the year, which I like a lot. A festival seems a little bit like it's
like a weekend.
Yeah, it's like a weekend kind of thing. We like to have concerts like every 2 months or so.
All right. Well, that's the subject of our program tonight. Tom Redette is here, and I'm Mike Mano, and we're listening to music that Tom is providing that we've had. That he's had in his programs in the past and now into the future type of thing. So we have a long piece coming up. Tell us about this next piece, and then when we come back from that, we'll talk more about the program and other people involved. But right now, let's get to this piece.
Yeah, so this is the Mendelssohn Octet, the first movement of the Mendelssohn Octet. This was kind of our culmination of our first season last year. And it was played with the American String Quartet. And so the American String Quartet were my coaches and my mentors at the Manhattan School of Music. And so when I first kind of came up with this idea of starting a series, I kind of asked them for their opinions and their help. And they were like, well, here's all of our advice, but also we would love to come and play. And I was like blown away. And so they played on my graduation recital for my master's, and then they came out and they played the Mendelssohn Octet. And what's really kind of fun is that the octet is 8 people. So the string quartet played the first parts of each of the instruments, and then all of their students played the second part. So all the younger people in this octet were students of the American String Quartet. So it was this kind of really amazing moment, and it also was the last Mendelssohn Octet that the violist would play before he retired, and he retired about a month ago now. And so it was this kind of all culmination of all these kinds of memories and all this teaching and all this studying all kind of came together to this piece. And it doesn't need much of an introduction because it's one of the greatest pieces ever written for strings, written by Mendelssohn when he was 18 years old. It really is just an amazing piece.
What did you do when you were 18?
I was not doing this. I was getting lost in New York City.
as I was doing other things too. All right, we'll listen to that, and then we'll take a short break and be back with more. The Mystic Chamber Music Series is the subject of tonight's Conducting Conversations. I'm Mike, sitting with Tom, and we've been listening to music provided by Tom that has been very beautiful, and we have two more pieces to go to. This one is going to be featuring guitar players, and tell us about why we're listening to guitar players when you're a cellist.
Yep, yeah. So this is kind of a little bit different and a departure from what we usually do. But for our next concert on February 8th at the Lagua Center, we decided to kind of branch out with our string playing and kind of move on to some guitars as well. So it'll actually be a guitar and cello duo concert coming up on February 8th. What we're about to listen to is a solo guitar piece by the wonderful guitarist who is coming to our concert, Giuseppe Buscemi. He's Italian, and he recorded an entire album of Italian music. And so this is one of the pieces from that. And so on this concert itself, we're going to have a solo guitar, a little bit of solo cello sprinkled in.
Have a little of that.
Yeah, you gotta add a little bit in there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're going to have some cello and guitar duos. And the reason that this kind of concert kind of came to mind was I was at a couple concerts and I heard this wonderful piece, the Histoire de Tango by Piazzolla. And it's usually played by violin and guitar. And I fell in love with it. And I thought that when making concerts and programming concerts, I always want to have something at the end that the audience will feel and will kind of raise them to their feet. And hearing the end of this Histoire de Tango, I was like, that's exactly what I need. And
Cool.
so I programmed the concert kind of around that idea.
That's a good thing to have people standing up at the end.
Yes, it is.
All right, so we're going to listen to this now. Anything else, or we're just
I
ready
think
to
that's
hear
it.
Here we go. Tom, we've listened to a lot of great music tonight. We have one more piece to go, but we want to tell people that the Mystic Chamber Music Series, or so to speak, is something that is ongoing, and tell us about what's coming up.
Yes, so it is ongoing. We have 3 concerts starting from now until the end of our season. We have the February concert, which will be a guitar and cello duo concert. And then on April 12th, we actually will have an acclaimed bassist, Nina Burnett, coming to play with us. And so she is an amazing bassist, having won an Avery Fisher Career Grant. And when I first approached her about coming to our series, she said, "Oh my gosh, are you based in Mystic?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, a bass maker in Mystic made the bass I'm playing on right now. And I was flabbergasted. And so she gave me his name, and I drove, and it is exactly 2.5 minutes from my childhood home. And I pull in, and I go, "Oh my gosh!" I had heard of this a little bit, but I didn't know this was such a big bass maker. And it turns out he is one of the premier bass makers in the entire country. And he's now even branching out into cellos. And so I've had the wonderful joy to play on a couple of his cellos, and he's actually making me a cello right now.
Now, how did she hear of him? Do you know that?
I do not know the answer to that. I think he just kind of is famous in the bass world.
Okay.
And it's amazing. And so Gary from Upton Bass is actually sponsoring this concert and helping us bring Nina out because she's such an amazing talent. And so it's been a wonderful collaboration between our series and Gary at Upton Bass, and is
Nina based out of New York City?
She's based out of New York City.
Okay.
Yes, she's playing with the CMS, so the Chamber Music Society in Lincoln Center. Yes.
Okay then.
Yeah, she's very good.
Right.
One of the best bassists I've ever met in my life, I have to admit.
Now, do you find that trying to be careful how I word this, but you don't find a lot of female bassists, do you, normally?
There are, but it's slowly. I think that the bassists are slowly becoming more gender inclusive as we go along.
Yeah, because when you thought of that when I was growing up, that would be very, very rare.
Yeah.
But not so much for your generation.
Not as much for our generation.
Okay. All right. Let's go from there to what's the concert after that.
And then the concert after that is the first weekend in June will be our final culmination concert of our season. That'll be our season finale this year. And the idea behind that concert is the shoulders in which we stand on. And so when Brahms was writing his first symphony, he was struggling and struggling and struggling to write the symphony. And it was because, and he wrote in his journals, it was because he was standing on the shoulders of giants. So he was coming after Beethoven, who just completely just changed the way we think about music. And he was really struggling to kind of deal with that. So on this concert, we'll be playing both Brahms and Beethoven together. And what's also kind of fun about this concert is that there will be a pianist, a second violinist, and a violist, and me, who are all of this generation. And then there'll be the first violinist will be Peter Winograd, who is actually from the American String Quartet, coming back for us next season, this season finale. And he is going to be kind of the mentor in that kind of group. And so kind of the one generation playing with another generation, the shoulders in which we stand on.
Excellent. Sounds like a wonderful opportunity. And if you'd like to find more information about all these concerts, you can do that by going online. This is a tough one, Mystic Chamber Music Series.org.
Right? .com.
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 Okay. MysticChamberMusicSeries.com. Easy to remember. You even have a phone number people can call?
Yes, we do. It is 860-949-6594.
Excellent. Tom, thanks so much for coming in, bringing your music to our audience, and we look forward to seeing you back in the spring.
Yep, thank you so much.
All right, and the rest of you, we'll see you next time on Conducting Conversations. Conducting Conversations was brought to you by Roberts Musical Instruments, using music in the arts to keep your child educated, entertained, and having fun. Roberts Musical Instruments is your key to musical success. Call 823-5459. That's 823-5459.